if you don't have a good tasting product, it's really highly unlikely that you're going to be able to survive no matter what type of marketing you put into it.
When it comes to food, the food has to be good. Otherwise, you can have the best
Yeah.
branding, you can have the best location.
hmm
You have
Yeah.
nothing if people don't enjoy the food.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, this is Justin, and you're listening to the Pursuit of Profit podcast. Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed this episode with George Kuan, founder and CEO of Bang Cookies. Today we're discussing how Bang is disrupting the cookie space with their natural and organic ingredients, how George plans on giving back to communities across America through a fundraising platform, George's three-point theory for creating a successful cookie business, and plans for future product launches at Bang Cookies. We hope you enjoy the show, and please follow us as we drop new episodes each week on Wednesdays. George is jacked.
George is jacked. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to tamp down those cookie cravings and still keep
Jacked?
my
What do you
my
putting
girl
some?
eats bigger.
What are we doing with those cookies?
Yeah, actually, I'm working on a protein cookie. I'm not joking.
Well, I love what you do. I got to. When I first heard about Bang,
Yeah.
Franchising's had a love affair with cookies over the past couple of years. You're
Yeah.
obviously, Bang is not the only ones doing this. Everyone's aware of the big names out there. There's Crumble. Then we
Yes.
have all the copycat brands that seem to be doing literally the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Every week, go to social media, launch a new cookie. Everyone goes and hopefully buys it. So I was like, all right, do we really need another one of these? But Bang seems to be a very unique model. Yeah. So we have a lot of questions for you. This is interesting. It's way more interesting than I thought it was going to be. So let's talk about it. Take us back. This started at a farmer's market. Take us back to the beginnings here. How did we start Bang?
We started the company back in 2015. This is before any of the other brands were out there. And one of the biggest things for me was the reason why was I wanted a better ingredient cookie. So if you were to look in my fridge, it would literally be at least a good 70 to 80% organic products. Right. And I'm super into what I put in my body. Hence the reason for working out, staying lean, eating the best ingredients possible. And I tend to value what I put in my body more than what I wear. For me, what you put inside is what's more important than what's on the outside. And that's just, that's just a fact. So, I've always had that mindset, and I never, I actually enjoy cookies a lot. That's my favorite dessert. What I wanted was to use like organic flour. I wanted to use organic cane sugar, organic dark brown sugar, the macadamia nuts. I love macadamia nuts, and use organic macadamia nuts. And for anyone that knows how much macadamias cost, they're very, very expensive. Even at Costco, it ranges from $17.99 to like $19.99 per pound, depending on the season. Per pound. I mean, that's like more expensive than some cuts of like filet mignon.
That's right.
And that's how we started the company. Was like, hey, how do we make my favorite dessert into something that's has better ingredients, right? And ultimately, it has to taste good. And for people that work out, they all understand like empty calories, right? So if I'm going to eat a dessert, I want this thing to be super tasty, but also with the best ingredients. And that's the genesis of how Bang Cookies started. Literally in my kitchen, my apartment that I had at that time. And the recipe has been in existence for well over 15 years. I would just keep iterating on that recipe and keep making adjustments to it. And to the point where I was like very satisfied after many, many years of trials of like making a really good chocolate chip cookie. And that was how everything came about. And so we launched in 2015, and we started selling it at the farmers markets in downtown Jersey City. And we just sold out in the first hour. Now we kept them selling out every single time we went there. And then eventually we sold so much that like this kitchen that I had in my apartment just couldn't handle it. Literally,
you were making cookies in your apartment.
Yeah, at that time. And they had to move it to a commissary kitchen.
Okay.
And then at the commissary kitchen, they grew out of the commissary kitchen because we're just making so much dough that we're taking over all like the available space in there. And so it went from one place to another. Eventually, we got our own mini production facility in Jersey City, where it's like a small 2,000 square foot dedicated, that's just for us. And we had the majority of that place just for production and then a smaller area for people to pick up. And it's grew a following. And, we really value the ingredients that we typically put into it, but also at the same time, it has to taste good, right? Because you can have the best ingredients in any food item, but if it doesn't taste good, it really doesn't matter. People won't buy it. Just being honest about it.
You talk about your 3-point theory of creating a successful cookie business, food business: taste, consistency, and accessibility.
Correct. Right. If you don't have a good tasting product, it's really highly unlikely that you're going to be able to survive no matter what type of marketing you put into it.
When it comes to food, the food has to be good. Otherwise, you can have the best branding, you can have the best location. You have nothing if people don't enjoy the food.
Yeah. That's number one.
Yeah.
And number two, to get people to keep coming back, is consistency. If you don't have that consistency, you're going to have a hard time retaining customers, right? And number three is, how easily accessible is it, right? And you look at the major players out there like Starbucks, they have the best real estate because they want it to be accessible, right? They're usually in front of like major transportation hubs, or if, for example, in New York City, they're typically right next to a subway station coming out. So it's accessibility. Those are three primary factors. And that comes down to real estate. And I'm pretty sure you guys know, and you've heard this before, like location. That is a primary, one of the fundamentals of understanding how to be successful in retail, right? So if you look at those 3 points, you can hit the nail on those 3 points. You have a recipe for highly successful business in general when it comes to retail, right? I mean, also there's definitely nuances also in having to understand payroll and what are the three main prime costs in brick and mortar for food, for the F&B industry, right? Which is rent is one of them, payroll, and cost of goods sold.
Yep.
You have to understand those three elements.
Those are the big three. Absolutely.
Big three. Yep. If you can't control at least two of them well enough, it's just not going to work. You're not going to be able to make enough, and you're probably going to sink. So these numbers really needs to be understood in that sense too. So yeah, that's a lot.
So this whole thing started, I mean, you were using like these crazy names for the cookies that I don't even know. So you were using crazy names that had like sexual innuendos, I guess. It was kind of like a joke, a catchy thing. And then parents are like getting pissed off that like their kids are asking for these cookies, which is hilarious. Right. But it's like, all right, how do we build a national brand around this? Plus the name is Bang. I mean, you could make what you want from that.
In the very beginning, we didn't have a lot of we just didn't have the marketing dollars at all. So when it comes down to understanding how to get attention and free media, we had to do it in such a way where it would get people to look at the name and question themselves, is that an actual name, right? And it worked. The whole point was for us to have a very explicit name so that people would ask about it. And then we would say, oh, so now that you're here, just try a sample. And they would try the sample. Like, oh, wow, this is actually really good. And they would buy a cookie. And that was the goal. The overall goal down the road was to bring it over to a point where it was much more PG and more corporate. And so Bang Cookies was that name that was going to change to, evolve to. That was planned out because we just didn't have the budget to get attention right off the bat. And when you have zero customers, when you first start, you got to do something, just anything to grab attention that's legal, right?
You're smart. I think it's smart.
And it worked, and it helped us get so much attention in the very beginning. And they just kept on coming to ask about the name, what we're about.
So the BBC was what? What was in the BBC cookie?
Well, the BBC was the big black cookie. So
it was a chocolate cookie. I mean, you could have named it, triple chocolate. You named it the BBC.
I didn't think it would be vanilla, right? Just saying.
No,
right.
No, that is the triple chocolate cookie that we have right now, and that's the name of it.
I mean, listen, everyone else's is called triple chocolate. You named it was the BBC.
Let me tell you something. It really caught a lot of attention in the farmers market.
Oh, I bet.
All the parents knew what it was, and they started cracking up. And then they got to the point where when the kids would like the cookie so much that, I remember this one time, and this was what really stood out to me was this one time there's this little girl, who always buys the cookies. And the farm person was like, "Daddy, Daddy, like, I really want the BBC."
Oh my God.
So the dad just started cracking up and looked at me. And I was like, it's a cookie,
Just a cookie. Right.
The best part is that the dad laughed. The dad like knows what to laugh at there.
Yeah, like seared into my mind. I remember when that happened. And the dad was like really funny about it. It's really kind of surreal because I was like cracking up inside and I was trying to like hold myself in.
Right.
It's like a little blonde girl,
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the dad was just laughing too. So it was a good moment. But then, the cookies, the names, it became one where, we knew that eventually we would have parents complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
But once we had enough customers, we had these other names that was ready on the back in the pipeline.
You've heard from some incredible franchise brands right here on the podcast. If you're sitting there wondering which opportunity might be the right fit for you, we're here to help. At Phrenosity, we offer free consulting services to aspiring small business owners just like you. We'll guide you through a focused, strategic process to help you identify the best franchise match. Call or text us at 561-277-3710 or visit us on the web at phrenosity.com. That's FRANOCITY.com. We look forward to working with you.
So then you had to rename and prepare for the mainstream.
Yeah.
Right.
Prepare for the mainstream. We had to rename everything. That's fine. And eventually the name of the company became Bang Cookies. And Bang is a word that we chose specifically because Bang in itself in the Asian community in like China and Taiwan means good, like very good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And also Bang is one syllable, like cookie is two, and it's 3 syllable. So it's easier name to remember. And on top of that, there's no R in it. So when you don't have an R, it's easier to pronounce for people that are not native to the English language.
I like the name. It reminds me, Cliff,
Yeah.
of crack boba.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's short, memorable, and Bang in itself also has a very strong connotation of something being very strong. And our goal is to make our cookies like the best tasting with the best ingredients possible. And
I'm surprised
that's
that name
like-
was even available. You federally registered that mark? No issue?
oh yeah, it's registered.
No one
Bang
challenged
Cookies
it?
registered.
Nothing. Thank you for digging.
We're actually going to challenge other people that are trying to use like Bang Bang, but we got the registration first. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean
That's
you have Bang Bang Shrimp,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
other bangs out there.
At Bonefish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonefish, yeah.
So, yep, we got that registered, and that took quite a few years actually. I didn't realize how long the process is to get a registered trademark.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah. So we have that, and yeah, that's the journey so far. But then after we had that mini production facility, we grew out of it. Then we decided to open up a downtown Jersey City location where there's like super high foot traffic, and that's where we started really understanding retail now. And that was our first like official like retail store, whereas the other store was more of a mini production facility. And, we operated out of a 275 square feet location.
So
2,500.
275.
Oh, I was going to say, wait a second. I thought this was a small footprint. All right. 200.
Very small.
You've managed to operate this business out of
275 feet.
Yeah. Square feet. Yeah. That's how big it is in there. And people have bathrooms bigger than that. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
So
Think about Plaza's bigger than that.
so obviously your factory, you have a production facility making the cookies. You're just selling the cookies out of the 275 square foot studio, call it. Is that as a franchise? Is that the franchise model? Are the franchisees cooking cookies? Are they making cookies? Are they rolling the dough? Are you manufacturing the cookies, sending them to the franchisee to just sell?
So now we have a bigger production facility now, a bigger factory in northern Jersey. And what we do now is we make all the dough, we portion it out, and then we deliver it to our franchisees. So they don't have to do the heavy lifting. Making dough is back-breaking work.
Okay.
Literally, it's very, very difficult. And also the part of consistency is crucial. If you just make a mistake in measuring an extra teaspoon of salt, that cookie can taste completely different. And those type of mistakes are very prevalent when you have people that are, especially in like the food and beverage space, there's typically like a high turnover when it comes to hiring people. And it just takes one person to not pay attention and put an extra teaspoon of salt in the whole mix. And then before you know it, the cookie is way too salty.
All right. So you're making the dough. Franchisee is adding in the peanut butter, the macadamia nuts, the chocolate, the sea salt, whatever. And then they're cooking the cookie and serving it fresh.
No, they're not making the dough. We give them to them.
So you make the whole cookie.
We make the whole cookie in a dough form, and then they get the pucks and they just put it in a tray, push it in the oven, and press it.
Really?
Done.
Got it. Okay.
There's always these preset functions. So our ovens are specifically the ones that we worked with is through MeWe. We use a MeWe ovens, and
wow,
it can store like hundreds of different variations of different baked products. And so if somebody's baking, if a franchisee is baking sea salt chocolate chip, they're going to have a preset template in there. It says sea salt chocolate chip, press the button, and that's it. And then they start baking. So what we try to do is to take out a lot of the guesswork, okay, and reduce the amount of learning is required. So that way it's much easier to operate.
Love it.
And
can't mess it up.
Love it.
Yeah.
This is not crumble cookie. Not even close.
No.
They're doing all the heavy lifting at the local level.
Oh my God. They have the last time I was there. I mean, the one near me, something happened. It was like tax fraud or something that they closed down. But there was like, last time I was there, was like a dozen people running around back there making cookies.
Yeah. For us, everything, it comes into a nice vacuum sealed tray, and there's 4 trays into a case. You take it up. It's super easy to do inventory. Everything is systematically set up for you so that when you open up the reach and freezers, you put in the exact configurations of the sea salt chocolate chip pucks, triple chocolate pucks, secret churro pucks, cookies and cream pucks.
That I like.
Just take it out. Yep. And then our trays, we have trays that have like little molds in it. So you just put it in the molds. So so you can see like how many cookies you're baking very easily. And they don't touch the dough outside of like maybe like 2 or 3 cookies as of right now. We might add more to it, but part of it is also like one of the most popular cookies is called the s'mores cookie. That part, we actually have the franchisees take the specific graham crackers that we have as a company, and they put it on there in front of customers.
Okay.
And then once they
you
put
have
it on
toppings, you have
the
icing,
dough,
you have toppings, right?
we have some toppings, right? Our toppings are like graham crackers. And if we want to make it look more like with more chocolate chips, they can put it with more chocolate chips. But it's not. That is like the minority of the cookies. Like there's certain cookies where we want our franchisees to showcase that they can put the actual toppings on top. But that's all they're doing. It's still pre-portioned. Everything's still pre-portioned.
Yep.
The puck, and you put the graham
I think
crackers
it's
on
brilliant. I love it.
And that's like part of like food theater too, because you want your customers to see that, hey, we're actually working with the dough. But the reality is like the only time you're working with the dough, we're taking all the heavy lifting off of actually making the dough and doing inventory too. You got to think about it. If you have to stock flour, sugar, butter, eggs, vanilla, right? Different food colorings, different toppings, right? You could potentially have 20, 30, 40 different ingredients in there that you still have to inventory. And eggs too. And what if somebody walks out with just a brick of butter or walks out with a case of eggs? It's like, there's more nuances to it. There's more operational procedure with it. You just need more people to operate the store. And there's more things to do, more tasks to accomplish. For us, we can operate with 1 to 2 people.
Wow.
And then if it's like
On a
really
shift?
busy,
2 people on a shift.
Wow.
Wow.
Because now it's retail.
when it's not
It's basically retail
It's
now.
it's a
Right.
retail model.
retail.
Right.
Yeah. Like we don't require like 12 to 15 people. Don't. As a matter of fact, I would have never wanted to operate a store with 12 to 15 people because it's just so much more work, right? And it's very taxing too for everybody. So even our stores, like, their most recent one in Ocean that's opened up, they have one person there right now. And when
I
it's
love
super
it.
busy, it's
Great
another
idea.
person, maybe three at most when it's super busy.
Yeah.
Right. And then that helps you reduce the payroll. Now you got to think about it. The only way to really have between 1 to 3 people operate and 3 people when it's super busy is you have to have a really good system down pat.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to have the understanding of what has been semi-automated to fully automated, right? Because if you don't have that system down, you're going to have to hire more people just to do those specific tasks, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things when it comes to manufacturing dough is that it requires a lot of attention to detail. Baking is more of a science, right? And people say that cooking is more of an art, right?
Yeah.
But baking is very, very to the gram.
Right.
And for us, the way I looked at the model was, okay, how do we automate as much as we can, right? This oven, we wanted an oven that can specifically store each individual cookie setting for baking, down to the fan speed, to the time. And there's 3 to 4 different stages of the fan speed too, that we can change and modify, but that's all preset. How do we have a system where it doesn't require a trained barista to work in your shop? Because what happens if that person gets sick or they can't come in for whatever the reason might be? And now your coffee is going to be what? You're pulling an espresso shot, it's not good anymore. So even that part was figured out, right? And understanding which machine should we work with so that people just press a button and it pulls a great espresso shot. Push another button, you can have a great latte all set up, right? And another element for us is to make sure that our SKUs are not so overly abundant. And what do I mean by that? Well, we have our core cookies, right? Because the primary product for us is cookies. And we do have rotational cookies. We have done that in the history of the company. But what we have known and what we want to focus on are the core cookies that everybody really loves. A classic chocolate chip, but we have sea salt on it. I like to say that for us, I think our sea salt chocolate chip was back like in 2015. People talked about it, but nobody really pushed sea salt chocolate chip, like try to make it like,
For
more
me,
commercialized.
there are certain combinations in food that just can't be beat. You have peanut butter and jelly is like the obvious one.
Yeah.
You have a high quality steak with cream spinach.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect combination. Cliff, you and I have done it many times together. And then peanut butter and chocolate and sea salt and chocolate. They're just like, it's a perfect,
yeah.
It's a perfect, love that.
Yeah. And this is that's our best sea salt chocolate chip. And for us, the core cookies are the sea salt chocolate chip, peanut butter chocolate chip, white chocolate macadamia nut, triple chocolate, the s'mores, and our snicker churro, a classic oatmeal raisin, cookies and cream, and a caramel sea salt. Now, those are the core big cookies that we have. We call them giant cookies. They're pretty decently sized. And then now we're launching a mini cookie line that we've always had. Now, the mini cookie line we've always had since the first year, but now we want to push out these mini cookies now because there are people that are asking for smaller portion sizes too.
George,
and
I've ordered via mail. So I've ordered crumble cookies, I've ordered dirty dough, and I ordered yours, a box. Hands down, you have the best product. That's 3 people in my household sampling different. Now I'm the guy that will not eat a cookie right off the shelf. I can't. I don't think any cookie tastes good if it's not warm. This is my opinion. I think you're doing the cookie and yourself a total disservice by eating a cookie like out of a bag or right off the shelf. You have to heat the thing up. So when I get them, I warm them up. This is just me as a consumer. I warm it up. I warmed up all the competitors. Your product is absolutely amazing. And I want to commend you. We just kind of say things on the show and the listeners are just sitting there, right, listening to all this stuff. The fact that you went out of your way to not only buy ingestible, but digestible ingredients and went up beyond without all the chemicals and the preservatives, I commend you. We live in a time where everything is poison. Let's just say it. I don't care if it's Cheez-Its, I don't care if it's Trix or Fruit Loops. This shit is poison. They've been selling us poison for fucking decades. And finally, we have someone now, RFK, that's going to gut the organizations that have been killing all of us on the call and everyone listening for decades. Because they're like, we got a better way of making that red velvet cake red. What are you going to use? Oh, we got a dye we made in a factory. And, it does cause maybe breast cancer and endocrine disruptors and hormone disruptors, but they won't know. Now we know. And there's guys like you that are saying, no, I'm going to flip the script and I'm not doing it. I give you a ton of credit, but I have questions now because it raises questions. Because if you ask yourself, how did we get there? How did we get to a place where Trix, right, Fruit Loops could kill you over time, right? How did we get there? Because nobody wants to pay a premium for products. Secondly, no one wants to watch the product go bad, spoil in a short period of time. How were you managing cost of goods and how were you managing shelf life by doing the right thing? And I don't want to shrink your success of doing the right thing, but how are you managing those two, price and spoilage?
So that's a very good question, by the way. Supply chain in franchising is, I would say, probably the other 50% of the business when it comes to us as a franchisor sourcing these ingredients.
Especially when they're high quality organic ingredients.
And that's one of the things where, let me give you an example of what happened during the pandemic. There was a huge peanut butter shortage because no one worked the field, everything was shut down and peanut butter was drying up. We literally sent out 2 teams of people to go scrounge out organic peanut butter from Costco in 3 different states. We literally sent 2 teams out, just with their trucks, and it's bought as many as we could. And that was during the pandemic. Like, it was just, it's tough. It's not easy, but now that we've grown, it's gotten to the point where, for us, even down to, like, we're not 100% organic, but we use a good amount of organic ingredients. Like the butter is all natural, the eggs are all natural. And the thing about it is, like, there's limited availability of organic products. And it's not abundant compared to, let's say, conventional ingredients. But there are conventional ingredients that you still can use that is still very good for you. You just have to look for it. And one of the biggest things that we focus on is not using certain preservatives. Like the preservatives that do exist in some of the products, like that's out there. Some are okay in the sense of that's made from plant-based. But when it comes down to chemicals, and you don't see us with like a red velvet cookie.
Right.
But when we do want to make a cookie red, we use beetroot powder. Okay. And you can't use too much beetroot powder because then it'll taste like beetroot. But we don't focus on getting like these brightly colored cookies because, like, man, when you see like a bright orange cookie, like, how is that going to be healthy for you, man?
Is it true that red dye is like a powder? It's like a parasite that they grind up and it's like a powdered bug.
Yeah.
The water bug. That's one of them.
Yeah. It's one
of
them.
Bug. Yes. There's a version.
It's like,
I don't know.
It's like a water
parasite.
bug.
It's a bug. Yeah. They call it a parasite. I think that's an exaggeration.
Yeah. It is a bug. If you Google it, you'll find out about it. But in general, the chemical based ones are really where it's like cheap, much cheaper. And you don't see us with like a bright blue cookie either. And that's something that our customers have asked, hey, can you guys actually make like a colored cookie? Can you guys make a red velvet cookie? We don't do that because of the fact that it requires these chemical dyes. Now, would we want to try it with like a beetroot powder with vegetable-based dye? Potentially. But we're very careful with those ingredients. And for the question of keeping the food cost down, well, now we're able to buy in bulk for the factory. So we move, thousands and thousands of pounds. We don't buy only like 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 500,000 pounds. Then we're moving things in from 10,000 pounds and above. So we use our buying power to be able to control the cost. That's one of the ways. But it's still typically ingredients are typically like double the price, easy on the ingredient cost. And our goal is, I love the Costco model. I love the Costco model, and I love Costco as a company. Same thing with Trader Joe's and Apple computers. And, for me, it's about understanding how we treat our employees, our customers, and also our community. So we want to bring a product to the community where it's not so exorbitantly high, but still be able to give them like great ingredients, because the margins might be lower in general when it comes down to like, something that, ingredient that might cost, let's say $10 versus ingredient costs $20. The margins are a little bit lower, but if you do it in volume and you focus on a more niche controlled menu where it's not so wide, where you don't have like 100 different things, then you can still have a nice, healthy profit margin too.
Good point.
It's a combination of understanding how to control your menu so that you're not having like 100 or 200 items on your menu, right? Where you focus and niche down to the cookies, the core flavors, and these are the primary things we focus on. And then we have a weekly rotational cookie. That's only one cookie a week that's new. That's it. Everything else for the rotational cookie that we come out every single week, we only do one, but the core flavors is where we really push the main core of our ingredients into, right? So that way we can reduce the cost as much as we can. And then we pass on the cost savings to our franchisees.
Justin, before you go, so just to close the loop on this, you're making the dough, I guess you're flash freezing or something, because you immediately have to preserve because you haven't shipped it yet. So you're making it, you're freezing it, franchisee orders it, franchisee takes possession of the frozen product.
Yep.
Once it's baked, what's the shelf life of the product?
So we vacuum seal it too on top of the freezer. So now it's completely sealed.
Air's the enemy.
Airtight.
Yep.
Airtight. And then you can put it in the freezer. And when it's frozen, we've tested it past 8 months, 9 months. It's still like nothing has changed. Once you freeze the product and you vacuum seal it, and it's a dough, it could stay good almost indefinitely. So we've tested it at 6 months, 8 months. We haven't tested beyond a year, but the pucks don't last a year in the sense of like it being used. Like it'll be used up very quickly.
I tried it. Cookie was good. Not nearly as sweet as some of the competitors. The bag of cookies ended up, and it was a big bag. You guys were very generous that you sent us. It ended up at my niece and nephew's house.
Yeah.
And those cookie monsters, that it lasted like days.
Yeah.
They loved them.
Now, a quick distinction. I was talking about the dough, not the baked cookie.
My question was, once it's baked, like Justin, once it was baked, it was shipped to me. The question was, can I get 2 weeks out of it before it spoils? Like, what's the shelf life of the baked product once it's distributed to the consumer?
We typically would want our customers to finish it within 4 to 5 days. We have a lot of customers that would freeze it. They would buy like a bunch, like 12 or 24. They freeze it. And what they do is they take it out of the freezer one at a time and put it in an oven or a toaster oven. And they toast it up.
That's the way to do it.
4 or 5 minutes. And it comes out. It looks and it tastes like, almost like you just baked it.
You mentioned
we're going to be pushing into cookie milkshakes now. So you take any one of our cookies, you blend it into a milkshake, and the milkshake actually tastes like the cookie itself, right? And that's these are new product lines that we're coming out with. But even down to like the milkshake itself, down to the soft serve that we're going to bring in, and that's our own label. That's our own like ingredient list that we want in there.
So that's interesting. So we've talked a bunch about cookies on this podcast, believe it or not. We actually did a pod. I guess it was December.
Yeah, we were
I
negative.
think it was Cliff. We were negative. Yeah, I mean, we felt that and you can weigh in, George. Our concern was, does the crumble cookie start to crumble? Because the revenue, first of all, they're doing like $1 billion. So no one can say anything bad about them. They have been killing it. Can you build an entire brand around just a cookie? Now, we've seen it happen. Like Nothing But Cakes has also been very successful. Just
Mrs. Fields.
Cakes.
Mrs. Fields.
Mrs. Fields. Like, so there have been brands that have done it, but can they do that kind of revenue just with the cookie? And then, so we get the numbers from 2023, both revenue and profits are down. And now we're starting to see them diversify into small pies and cakes. So they are bringing on other product offerings. So it sounds like you're kind of doing the same thing here. You're getting into ice cream, milkshakes. Are you starting to diversify a little bit as well?
So we've always had customers asking for coffee from our stores.
Coffee.
So
Okay.
it's a natural line that we're going to pair with cookies. We've always had
What happened to milk?
a small
But it was milk and cookies. Now it's coffee and cookies.
coffee and cookies. Yeah, it's actually much more of a higher ask. We get asked more often about, hey, do we
Really?
have coffee? Yeah.
Coffee's also better margin.
Then yeah, I agree. But also, we are going to have a brownie line coming out. We've always had brownies in the past, but now we're going to branch out to doing more brownies too. So one of the things that we're positioning ourselves at is having a core cookies there. We have 9 giant cookies and 3 minis coming out. We'll probably have another 3 new minis coming out. But these are the core cookies that people love in America. Okay. And the biggest difference between us and I say Crumble, for example, is that they have rotational cookies every single week. That is, they change out 4 or 5 things every single week. For us, we have a core product, which is right now 12 items, but now it might go up to like 15. But these are the ones that people always constantly get. And the thing that I do like about the rotational aspect of weekly cycles, and what I don't like about it is you're going to lose a good amount of customers that are not going to come back repeatedly if you keep changing out the core flavor. If you don't have a set of core flavors.
Of course. You got to have
You
the
know.
Big Mac. You have to have the quarter pound of cheese.
Right.
All in
Yeah.
perpetuity. I agree with you.
Right.
And then you roll out the McRib.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing. If you look at Insomnia cookies, they've been around for over 20 years.
Mhm.
They have a core set of cookies that they always sell. All right. And you look at Costco, they always have the $1.50 hot dog. They always have the 3 types of pizza, the plain, right? Everything, right? And then the pepperoni. That's it. They focus on the core and keep the menu simple. They don't try to change out every single week. Is there room for rotational products on a weekly or monthly basis? Yes, there is. But that should constitute, from my perspective, maybe 10% to 20% at most of the food offerings, right?
Okay.
If you just keep rotating things in and out, most people are a creature of comfort.
Mhm.
They like what they like, and they don't want to have it kept on being changed over and over again. And for our customer base, we've seen that too. People that like the sea salt chocolate chip, the s'mores, the oatmeal, caramel sea salt, sticker churro, the white chocolate macadamia. These are all like traditionally classic. Now, sticker churro is for us our take on a cinnamon cookie with dulce de leche in the middle. Now, that is uniquely to Bang Cookies, and it's one of the fan favorites.
So George, just so I'm clear here, the milkshake, is this going to be, we're like crushing up a cookie in like a soft serve, like, so you spoon it, or is the cookie in the milkshake or no?
The cookie's in the milkshake. We're going to blend it.
You're going to blend a cookie in a milkshake.
In the milk, so the cookie will be with X amount of soft serve, some milk, right? And then the cookie thrown into a blender, and it blends it into a milkshake.
Can I drink it through a straw, or no? It's spoon, like a McFlurry.
Yeah. No, we want it to be drinkable through a spoon. Yeah. I mean, through a straw.
Right.
We want it to be drinkable through a straw.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then we're going to top it off. So we've tested it thoroughly. It tastes really, really good. And it's one of those elements where we want to introduce and push on, like cookie milkshakes. And they can also have regular milkshakes if they wanted to. And obviously, soft serve on a cookie, soft serve cookie sandwich.
Oh my God. There's nothing better than a warm brownie or a cookie with a little soft serve. Oh my.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Our goal is also not to like price it so out of hand where people can't afford it too, even though we have better ingredients. And you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I don't know how much you guys pay for lattes out in
Florida.
Where you live.
Yeah,
Florida. How much are like a 12-ounce latte going for nowadays down in like Florida?
I don't even know.
I have no idea.
I'll buy a barista.
To be honest with you, George, I drink my own organic coffee here. I don't go to Starbucks because I don't want the plastic cups.
That's right.
I don't want the, right. I honestly, I totally stopped. I don't want all the shit.
Got it. Okay.
George, speaking of the plastic, did you put as much thought into that bag as you did the ingredients?
Yeah, we really thought through about the plastic part, man. It
Good
was
for you.
one of those things where, you know, we wanted to understand, should we go the paper route? But then there's a level of, I guess the best way to put it, where we need to kind of meet in the middle, where we have to make sure that we give customers the ability to store the cookie, so it keeps it as fresh as possible, versus, going the paper route and then potentially not having the ability to keep it fresh. Right? And that's tough. That's tough. And that's something that we're going to keep working towards, because one of the things that we thought about was pushing towards getting the corn-based plastic.
Nice.
Right. And
no phthalates, no bisphenol, the BPA.
Yeah.
Right.
No, everything is food grade. There's no
Good
BPA
for you.
in the plastics that we use, the cups too. Now
I like
the
your
question
bag,
is,
how it seals. I like how I could seal and reseal, because it's such a beefy cookie. I only cut it in half and then reseal it. I do like that feature about your bag. I think that's excellent.
And that's something that I think unique to us too, because most bakeries will just put it in a box and give it to you. For
That's
us,
right.
We wrap every single one of the cookies, because it gives more convenience to the customer when they take it away, because they're not going to eat all 6 cookies at once. They might want to eat it over the course of 4 or 5 days. And
they're way too big. They're way too big.
Yeah, they're huge. Yeah.
George, I want to talk about you talked about community.
Yeah.
And you guys are big on community. A lot of the competitors out there have a really big social media strategy. And you guys do a great job, by the way, on Instagram. You even have a podcast on YouTube. You have thousands of people listening to the Bag Cookies podcast, right? I mean, it's incredible. It's actually really good. But you have this grassroots strategy through fundraising, which I thought was super cool. Can you explain what you're like? This is not just like telling the franchisees, go out and like call on the local PTA. You actually have a model for this, and you're making a real impact and raising tens of thousands of dollars for schools out there. So can you talk about how this happened and explain the model for that?
Yes, I will. So one of the things that we really want for any of our store operators and franchising, especially in a retail space, is to build Bag Cookies in such a way that ties back to community, give back. And this is a big part of one of our mission statement, which is to, take care of our employees, take care of our customers, and take care of our community by giving back. And it stems from the fact that obviously I'm Asian, and education is such a big part of the Asian culture. Mm-hmm. And it's also probably the main reason why Asians are very successful in the USA, because we really focus on education. Now, education can encompass self-education or through institutions too. It could be either or. Doesn't necessarily, you can't dictate success based on where someone goes to school, but as long as that person is educated in his or her own way and is able to use that knowledge effectively, they can become successful. And that's something that has been drilled into me since I was young. Mm-hmm. So my grandmother grew up in World War II. She was illiterate. She didn't know how to read or write, and she was allowed to go to school to learn. But what she did know, as a loving grandmother, was that she needed to save every single penny she had to give and afford her kids what she could never have, which is an education. Mm-hmm. And she gave that to me too, and bestowed that upon me. And I grew up in a household where I had a tiger mom. When I was young, I didn't like it. So when I've gotten older, I respect and appreciate the fact that I went through that entire process, because it made me who I am. And one of the things my grandmother always valued was education. And whenever I needed something for school, she's always saved her money for me. And that carried over to me, because the only thing she could really do was take care of kids. Because if you would actually go to, when I was in my teenage years, she would actually go to ShopRite, which is a regional chain of supermarkets in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't even know what $100 is. So my mom would give her money, and then she can do whatever she wants with it. And then she would go and buy me chicken and cook for me. But she would go to the cashier and give her like $100. And the cashier, they eventually knew who she was and knew that she didn't know what money, like how what $100 in change she should be coming back to, and they would give her the proper change. But what she did know was how to take care of kids, and that education is super important. So she bestowed that upon me to make sure that I got the best education possible.
Good for you.
And this is more of a way to celebrate her, 'cause she passed away of pancreatic cancer, and to make a mark to give back to students, specifically students, more so than anything else, because they are the future generation of people that will run this country, and hopefully for the better, right? And what my grandma did for me was what I'm trying to do to help students out. And a lot of schools in this country, they're underfunded. And I think we all know that this is a big problem in America.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time in this podcast. Franchisees making up for it big time, getting into these youth enrichment services. Yeah, big problem.
And a lot of, oh my God, a lot of these schools have a very hard time understanding how to fundraise. And you know what? When you're a teacher, you're stressed the hell out.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid enough. And then you have to worry about your students not getting a meal, and that they don't have pens or papers or can't go to a field trip. And some of them are embarrassed and say that they can't go to a field trip because they're poor. You know, that's another aspect as a teacher that they have to take on, right? Which is, how do I raise money for these kids? Sometimes they outlay their own cash and they're already underpaid. So, and a lot of these these organizers for the fundraisers, it's not really supposed to be their job to get more money for the kids. And they're there to like facilitate and teach them, right? But then they are burdened with additional responsibilities because in our culture, education is difficult. There's not enough money in education. Me personally, I think more money should be spent on education from the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
My take on it, because you're literally, building out the next generation of society, and that's one of the best investments you can make. So what we did was, it started when I was out in Ukraine. A teacher.
What were you doing in Ukraine? I mean, it's just
out there. We have a team from Ukraine, and they've been instrumental in helping Bankley's grow, both from onboarding people, taking care of customers, building software, etc. We have that team out there.
Okay, so you have tech support and stuff back there.
Tech support,
interesting.
Yeah. And we have our first inquiry about a fundraiser came in from South Central High School in Ohio. And her name was Linda Jackson. She reached out to me and sent me an email in the middle of the, it was like late night for me. It was early in the day for her. I saw the email pop up, and it was by chance, by the way. I get so many solicitations for emails that I can't even filter through most of them.
Mm-hmm.
This one popped up as I was on the computer, and I was like, oh, we're looking for a fundraiser. And I was sitting there in Ukraine, where I've always wanted to launch this type of fundraiser to give back to students. This teacher's asking about it. You know what? Let me just send her a quick reply and give her a call. And then from there, that's when it started. I was going to launch the fundraiser platform, the system for Mango Cookies probably 12 months later, but she reached out to me. So we decided to launch it a year earlier because of her. And then, so I called her, we spoke, I flew back, went to the school within a week of coming back from Ukraine, and asked her what she needed. And then we just filmed everything. We decided to do it as like a MVP, a minimal viable product, and test it to see how we could work. And it was a resounding success. And now we've talked to many, many schools now in New Jersey, in New York, across a bunch of states where we've helped them raise money. And there are plenty of schools where they were averaging maybe like $1,000 to $1,500 in that range of total sales, of which they would probably take home 10 to 20%. Within our platform, when we do the fundraising for these schools, some of them would hit $20,000, $25,000 and above in 2 weeks in sales, and they get 40% of that. So when you cut checks for 10 grand,
man,
to a program, to like a class, it's monumental. They're used to getting maybe $100, $200, $300 of take home for their proceeds, right? And imagine doing that for 6 to 8 weeks.
Selling
just to
wallpaper
take
or
home
some
200
crap.
bucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
digital brochure. Everything that we do on our fundraiser is all digital. Every single student that's participating in that specific fundraiser for the class or the sports team has their own individual page. We just had one, the most recent fundraiser just now, and I'll show it to you guys. In the first day, they did over $5,000. This is their second day. They're about, I think they were $8,000.
George,
in
the
fundraiser so far.
franchisee is still profitable at these payouts? Or are you
Yeah.
are you
So
are you still charging
our goal-
royalties on fundraising events?
Yeah, there is. But this is how it works. These fundraisers, the school and the students get 40%. And the goal of it is that you give to your community first.
You give back and build awareness.
Yes, exactly. There's one of the main principles that we have in our company is give to receive more, take to get less.
Nice.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And that's something that we recite every single day as one of our principles in our morning. That starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 a.m. EST. We go through our mission statement, okay? The principles that we value. And one of them is give to receive more, take to get less. And eventually, we're going to have that on their shirt.
Nice.
And one of the things about it is, how about we reach out to the community and help those in need first? And don't expect anything back. Right?
Mm-hmm.
No strings attached. And if you love the product, tell your friends and family about it. If not, it's okay.
Right.
And the product sells itself. Okay. The product sells itself. So we have schools, and eventually I think we're going to have schools that are going to be able to hit, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in sales. Now, how does this even impact the franchisees? Well, what is the best form of marketing?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Is it more effective nowadays to spend money on Facebook ads, or is it better to build your community? And not community that Instagram owns or TikTok owns, but a community that rallies behind your store because literally you've helped them so much that they're going to come to your grand opening.
Yeah. It's true. You feed people. It's great.
Yeah.
There was an event. There was a food event, a franchise food event, and it was 40 under 40. So all the guys were gals, all the operators are under 40. A guy in the audience started to ask a question, and one of the franchisees cut him off and said, feed people, give them your product. Just give it to them. And you're still making a profit, but you're essentially 40% is big. You're essentially giving the product, and you put a massive bounty on it. Feed people. Food is a love language. There's word of mouth. Look at me going on and on about it. Like if people love food, Justin loves food. Like whether it's acai bowls or poke bowls or a good filet mignon, people go on and on and on about it. Not one of you talking about your shoes. Not one of you talking about your clothes, other than you said, I don't care about that stuff. But it's true, and you're not even talking about it. People love to talk about food. It brings a community together. I think it's great.
It does. If you look at even something as trivial as sitting down for dinner with your family at the dinner table, it's bring everybody together from a day's worth of work. And that is something that's also, I think, is missing in the cultural context of the U.S. too, where are family dinners nowadays?
Yep.
Right. And it's something where to rally behind a community of using food, I think is paramount to be able to bring and unite people.
Yeah,
more than anything else.
Especially dessert.
Yeah, it's like dessert.
Right.
Yeah, it's like dessert. And that's one of the things about it was our fundraising program is something that we're gonna, push out aggressively to build community outreach. And we want to have it in such a way that, the community outreach is like the main part of the marketing, because nowadays, people have Facebook fatigue ads. Facebook ads are they're fatigued out. It's not as effective, right? And two, you're providing a community service of giving students money to further educate themselves or further enhance and develop. And three, what happens is that you share cookies. If you buy a box of a dozen cookies, you share it, right? And that just brings more awareness overall. And so it's a win-win situation for the franchisee and our stores, because they're going to keep coming back. And it's one of the things where we tell people like, hey, listen, when you're doing a fundraiser, don't look at it as just a profit center. You'll make some money, right? But think about how much it costs to understand retention. How
Yeah.
much money does it cost for you to retain one customer?
That's right.
You're retaining the customer, you're acquiring the customer, and you're going to retain them, and you're still slightly profit.
I am
Those are
amazed
marketing
at
expenses.
how few leaders come on this show and talk about the cost to acquire a customer, the stickiness of that relationship, the longevity,
Yeah.
the retention.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people just overlook what you just said. I completely agree with it.
Yeah. And,
Acquiring
we
customers is expensive, so keep them.
very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very expensive. And we have schools, we did over $1 million in our test year on a
Wow.
fundraiser, and we gave out over $400,000 in our first test year.
Wow.
That's something I'm very proud of.
Wow.
And that's something that I wish my grandmother was alive to see that, hey, this is for you. Like, you made such an impact on me to give back to education and just especially students.
So is like, how robust is this? Like my nephew does these fun runs, right? And he has like a
Yeah.
landing page, he has a website,
Yeah.
and I donate. Like, how sophisticated is this? Is it like that? Is it all set up where you're?
It takes less than a minute to sign up. We have an onboarding specialist. If you need someone to talk to help you onboard and give you ideas of how to actually take the page that's created automatically for you, you just got to load a picture. It's like creating an account for Instagram, almost like creating an account for TikTok.
Very cool.
Eventually, we're going to have video in there too.
Yeah.
So we have actually a good amount of tech built into it. And one of it is like every day at 6:00 p.m., there's an automated text message to every single fundraiser and all the participants in that fundraiser. So if you have, like, let's say 100 students in 6th grade doing a fundraiser for 2 weeks, all 600 students will get a text message saying, hey, you guys have already achieved like $10,000 worth of sales. Keep going. And then it's like, remember to send your link to your landing page to your friends and family all across the country.
Very
That's
cool.
automated in the back end. And then there's also a leaderboard. It shows like which students are hitting like $500. You see, you have a whole leaderboard. It has competition built into it. And eventually, what we want to do is have where there's live video, where the actual student is actually doing it, like on TikTok, where they're eating a cookie and they're like telling how good it is, and then they send that link directly to all their friends and family across the country. And it's just one of those things that we're leveraging more and more and more. And how does this even affect the franchisees? Well, the more people that actually try the product across the country, right? Because we can ship across the country, the more customers are going to be in the whole ecosystem of Bang Cookies. So that if they travel to a certain state and there's a Bang Cookies, well, they know the brand, they've had the product, there's trust built into it. That customer has already been acquired. But it's acquired at a scale where the cost is like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Very smart.
Yeah. And it's
I like it a lot.
Understanding customer acquisition, understanding retention, and understanding how to get a customer for little to no cost is one of the key fundamentals in how startups think. If you can understand those three things, and there's a very low cost to acquire a customer, you can scale. And you can really grow a business. And one of the things that we want to do is do more of the grassroots, because that is going to really build and tie in the community. And then retention is just much stronger, But behind all of this, all these variables that we talk about, the quality of the product, the taste, the consistency, accessibility, understanding tech, understanding how to manage the entire business model, understanding marketing, what marketing really works and what you should focus on, right? And this is one of them. And I'm more than happy to show you some of the results on this, so you guys can see some of the numbers. It's crazy.
It's incredible.
And our goal, if you guys think about it, Girl Scouts, they do $800 million every single year in roughly about 4 months.
Right.
With about 2 million Girl Scouts. These are facts you can look up on Google.
And the cookies aren't even that good, and they're horrible for you.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, for us, it's more about getting a fresh baked cookie. Now, our goal now eventually is to get the franchisees, when they open up a store, they have a community outreach. So even before they open up the store, there's about 3 to 4 months where you have to look look for a place, sign the lease, do construction. It takes about 3 to 4 months, right? Give or take. And sometimes it would take longer depending on how fast somebody moves and gets securing a location and getting permits. But the goal of it is to start the fundraiser. Do a community outreach. You don't even need to have a store yet. As you are securing the lease, as you're going to the parade of advice, you should be out there just, hey, here's some cookies, some bag cookies, and we can do the fundraiser digitally, and the corporate parent company will ship it all out on the behalf of the franchisee.
That's great.
Very cool.
That way, by the time you open up, if you've got like 30 or 40 schools ready to go, I've done a fundraiser, you're going to crush it on the grand opening, So,
Justin,
Cliff,
we got to get to, we're overtime. We got to get to item 19. Do you have an item 19, the FDD?
Is there an earnings claim?
the item 19, I have to speak to our head of franchise.
So item 7 here, Cliff, 234,000 to 391,000, which is very low. So one of the smaller brick and mortar
stores.
investments now. What's the size? You said whatever 275, but what are you looking for now? Square footage?
1,000.
Square footage wise, I think you can operate between 500 and 1,000 square foot. Like ideally between 500, 800, and
All right,
1,000
small.
is fine. But it depends. It depends on where you are, right? In, let's say, urban areas like Brooklyn, Manhattan, right? There's more 500 to 800 square foot locations than there are, let's say, in the middle of,
Right.
let's say, than in Oklahoma or Austin, Texas.
Exactly.
It's huge. I mean, to get a 500 square foot location in Texas is, you're probably not going to find it, honestly. You're probably going to be around 1,000 to 1,400 square feet when you're out in the suburbs or out in states that have like a lot more real estate, right? And even then, our goal is to reduce the cost of construction and the build out. So everything is thought through the lens of how do we reduce the cost of building to our franchisees. We've also partnered up with a few manufacturers for equipment too, and we pass those savings on directly to our franchisees. We're not trying to make additional margin on any of the equipment, right? What we're trying to do is, hey, we have administrative costs to secure this deal, but it's tiny. But we want to say, we don't want you to buy it through a distributor if you don't have to, so that they make a markup of like, $1,000 as an example. So even down to a millwork, we've reduced the cost significantly on a millwork since compared to when we first started, significantly. So that number of 234 to 350, I don't have that in front of me, 234 to 300K, can be lower now than that. So our goal is to always reduce and have much more optimized ways of doing the millwork, the signage, space-wise, using like specific types of materials that can reduce the cost further. And that's a great thing about it, And even for us, like one of the good points that we have right now is also our vendors that we want our franchisees to buy from, right? And we're focused on specific vendors that can allow franchisees to get, like, let's say milk, for example, at a much cheaper price compared to potentially like maybe regional distributors, right? So these are all things we think through. But in regards to construction, our goal is to further enhance that and further reduce it as much as we can. Yeah. I know that some of the other brands out there are much, much higher than we are. So I think, yeah.
I mean, I think that it's a small footprint. It's a low investment. It's a food and beverage model that doesn't require a lot of prep and cooking. Super simple, low labor, low investment. As I said when I started, this is way more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Like, you guys got to get this brand out. You seem to have put together a pretty good team around you.
We've gotten a ton of resources in, and to that timeline of getting the resource, helping them onboard is completely, we've flushed out a lot of it. So I'm really excited because, the next step for us is to really get the word out. And I'm really excited to be able to help more students in the community to raise more money for them and to build out that massive community across the country where the more cookies we sell, the better the students are, right? And the more money the franchisees are going to make, and the more and happy the employees are, right? And it's one of those things that matters to us. So it's a lot. I mean, this is not an easy endeavor by any means when it comes to building this type of company, but I'm very excited about it and to see how big we can grow. And that's the next step.
You have the right model. Cliff, what do you think? And what are your parting thoughts here?
Well, for the audience, the cookie market in the U.S. is 12 billion. So I always like to get my piece, no pun intended, right, of that $12 billion cookie. U.S. frozen dessert market in the United States is over 30 billion, growing at 5% CAGR. These are categories that people do love and continue to feed. I like the model. I like models better when I know the unit economics. So I definitely want to understand the item 19, whether it's the corporate stores or all stores or first year, whatever you did in that item 19, it would be great to know. I like the model, profitability, margin. I commend you for the cleanliness of the ingredients. I just need to understand, store level profitability when you're making it, you're shipping it. Yeah. And if all that is right, I got to tell you, Justin, I think we should be showing our clients this brand. I really do. I think people love this category.
This category, I think, requires an understanding of many different variables, right? Because you can procure, like, our drink line is something we're going to be pushing out, and we're going to be super aggressive with the pricing. So lattes lattes around like Jersey City and New York City area, they're going between like $6 and $7 for a 12 ounce, in that range. We're coming in at $2.75.
Wow.
And $2.95, depending on type. Yeah.
When you bundle the expensive, clean, non-GMO cookie with an inexpensive beverage and you bundle it, which now food franchises have all figured out, that's exactly what you have to do, right? You have to bundle it, you have to package it.
Yep.
Low margin versus high margin, and you end up with a nice, clean deal.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, man. You gotta come back and give us updates as you roll out new product offerings and as the brand continues to grow.
Yeah. And I'm super excited about this. All right, good.
It was great.
All right, George. Thanks for coming on, man. If anyone has an interest, reach out to us. Let us know. Thanks for your time, George.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on more great content. And if you're considering investing in a franchise, whether it's the brand you featured today or another opportunity, we're here to help. Visit us at funocity.com. That's FRANOCITY.com. We love to help you take that next step towards business ownership.